So the title of this video may be a bit clickbait-ish, since technically no males actually get pregnant. But for those of you who didn't know, there are multiple fish species where males take care of offspring development after fertilization. So I thought it would be fun to talk about them today. The most famous fish in which males get pregnant, at least among the general public, is the seahorse. And this is true for both real-life seahorses and the fictional seahorse Nemo from the movie Finding Nemo. Seahorses are part of a larger family called Syngnathidae, which also includes pipefish and sea dragons. And while all members of this group have male pregnancy, seahorses are by far the most well-known for it. There are approximately 40 different species of seahorse alive today, and they range in size from just over an inch to almost 14 inches long. All seahorses live in oceans around the world, but the majority of species are found in shallow tropical waters. Most of them prefer coral reef habitats. Seahorses belong to the order of fish called Syngnathiformes, which means that they are relatives of pipefish and sea dragons. For this reason, another common name for seahorses is marine pipefish. They are not closely related to horses, nor do they typically live in seas. So the name seahorse makes about as much sense as calling a starfish a starfish. There is nothing in their classification or biology that would warrant this common name, but I suppose when people first started seeing them, they just thought of horses because of the head shape. If you didn't know already, seahorses are also not actually fish. They are more specifically a type of bony fish. This means that they are more closely related to mammals than they are to sharks or other fish like that. While seahorses are technically not fish, I will still refer to them as such for the sake of simplicity, and because that's how most people think of them. Also, whenever I'm talking about seahorses in this video, I am referring to male seahorses because females do not really play a role in the interesting thing that we are discussing today. For more interesting facts about female seahorses, check out my other video. Now back to what makes seahorses so unique. In many fish species, males and females will come together during mating season and release their eggs and sperm into the water with the hopes of fertilization. This is called external fertilization, and it is quite risky. The eggs and sperm must find each other in the dark, often while being swept along by currents. And even if successful, the eggs are left defenseless against predators until they hatch. But seahorses don't do things like other fish. Instead, seahorses engage in a form of mating called internal fertilization, which takes place inside the body of one of the parents. Male seahorses have a small opening in the middle of their abdomens that leads to a structure called the brood pouch. This is basically a sac where eggs can be stored and protected. When it's time to mate, the female will approach the male and bend her body in such a way that her ovary or egg sac comes close to his opening. She will then deposit some of her eggs into his brood pouch without even entering the pouch herself. The male will then close his opening and fertilization begins. After the eggs are fertilized, they remain in the pouch, and the male must carry them to term. He does this by providing the developing embryos with oxygen and nutrients. The male's circulatory system is directly connected to the pouch, allowing him to regulate the salinity of the water inside to match that of the outside environment. This prevents the embryos from being adversely affected by changes in salinity as they develop. Carrying eggs, especially dozens or even hundreds of them, is no easy task. And males use different strategies to make sure they don't accidentally kill their offspring before they're born. One strategy employed by some males is the construction of a sponge-like structure within the pouch. This allows for better aeration of the eggs, but it also increases surface area. Therefore, more space is available for nutrient exchange between the male and the eggs. One of the biggest challenges that male seahorses face while carrying their young is keeping them safe from predators. Eggs are vulnerable to predation, so it is beneficial for the male to defend them. Studies show that male seahorses tend to display more anti-predator behavior while brooding eggs than males that are not brooding. This means that they are more likely to try and scare off potential predators. Some males puff up their bodies and try to look big. Others wiggle their tails or change colors. These displays work sometimes, but ultimately a hungry predator will sometimes just eat the male seahorse with the eggs inside. If this happens, the eggs are destroyed, but the male is able to fertilize more eggs in the future. In some species, males attempt to camouflage themselves to hide from predators. This is usually done by matching the color of the surrounding environment, but it can also be achieved by mimicking the shape of nearby objects. In this way, the eggs are better protected because the male seahorse doesn't stand out as much to predators. In other species, males will guard the eggs while the eggs are developing. They might fan them or move them around to make sure that they're getting enough oxygen. In some cases, the males will even clean the eggs by removing dead and decaying tissue. This keeps the eggs healthy and increases the chances that they will hatch successfully. When the eggs are ready to hatch, the male will begin contracting his abdominal muscles, helping the tiny seahorses inside to develop and prepare for life outside the pouch. It also stimulates the hatching process itself. After several weeks, which can vary depending on the species, the male will give birth to dozens or even hundreds of tiny seahorses. He does this by opening his mouth and releasing the newly hatched seahorses all at once. This is called synchronous release, and it ensures that all of the offspring are released together. Male seahorses can give birth multiple times per year, but this depends on how much food they have available. Each time a male gives birth, he loses a little bit of weight. This is because he has been nourishing the developing embryos with his own body fat and muscle tissue. So the fatter the male, the more offspring he can produce. As soon as the baby seahorses are released from the pouch, they swim away from their fathers. They are on their own now and must fend for themselves. The males have done all they can to protect and nourish the offspring, and now it's up to the babies to survive on their own. All this might sound very strange, especially if you were under the impression that only mammals can get pregnant. But it's important to remember that the definition of pregnancy is simply the gestation of offspring in the body of a parent. In mammals, this is usually done by the mother, but in some species, notably male seahorses, it is done by the father. As I mentioned earlier, seahorses are not the only fish that exhibit this trait. Male pipefish can also become pregnant, but only in a few select species. Pipefish are smaller than seahorses, reaching a maximum length of only about 2 inches. They also tend to live in shallower waters than seahorses do. Like seahorses, pipefish are able to direct the development of their offspring by controlling the conditions within their brood pouches. By regulating salinity, temperature, oxygen levels, and food supply, males can ensure that the eggs inside them develop properly. Sea dragons are also part of the Syngnathidae family. They are found in southern Australia and Tasmania and exhibit sexual dimorphism, meaning that males and females look different from one another. Male sea dragons have ornate appendages that extend from their heads and serve to increase surface area for exchange of oxygen and nutrients. This allows for better protection of developing eggs and higher rates of embryonic survival. Seahorses have also independently evolved male pregnancy, meaning that the ability came about separately in their lineage from the ability seen in pipefish and sea dragons. The evolutionary advantage of male pregnancy is not entirely clear, but it is thought to allow females to quickly produce more eggs, thereby increasing their reproductive success. Males can protect their offspring from predators while they develop, ensuring that at least some of them will survive to adulthood. Now you know a little bit about which fish are pregnant in more ways than one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.